A New York judge granting former President Trump a sentencing delay until after November 5th. President Trump will now be sentenced for his case involving Stormy Daniels on November 26th. That will be the new sentencing date, weeks after we all cast our ballots. So this is what we know, where the former president was found guilty in May on those 34 felony counts of falsifying business records to conceal that $130,000 payment to the adult film star ahead of the election there. Judge Juan Merchan is now saying that he's decided to approve this delay because he wants to avoid any appearance, however unwarranted, that the proceeding has been affected by or seeks to affect the approaching presidential election. That was a quote. What we know is that the penalty could be as much as 4 years of prison time or a lesser sentence, such as probation, home confinement, community service, or a fine. A fine would be familiar. Joining right now to discuss, criminal defense attorney Brian Claypool. Okay, so in light of what the judge said, this avoiding an appearance of election interference, a little too late for that, maybe?
Hey, Adrian, great to see you again. Hey, look, really what Judge Merchan is doing here is he doesn't want to impact the November 4th election. That's the bottom line here, Adrian, because if you look at the substance of the appeals that have been filed by former President Trump, they don't have a lot of merit. One of them, for example, is his lawyers want to apply the immunity that was granted by limited immunity that was granted by the U.S. Supreme Court. And he's basing that solely on Hope Hicks. Remember, she testified in the case, and that's the basis of his appeal. But look, on that grounds, he's likely to lose because these were not official acts, right? That's the only way you get immunity is if Trump was engaged in official acts. And this hush money trial has nothing to do with official acts. So look, I think his lawyers filed the appeal to delay, to get this beyond the election. And then Merchan was left with no choice but to wait until sentencing so that he's not perceived to be interfering with people's right to vote.
This is the second delay from the reporting I've seen, and the prosecution didn't oppose the postponement. Why, and is this a win for Mr. Trump?
Yeah, that's a great point, Adrian, because Judge Merchan, in his order, he basically said that he construed the prosecution's remark, Alvin Bragg's remarks, as consenting. So Bragg filed a document. He didn't come right out and say, we agree with Trump's request to delay the sentencing until after the presidential election. He basically said that we're fine if the court orders that. Well, what did Merchan do? The judge, he said, I take that as you are agreeing with this, and I'm going to wait on sentencing. And I personally, I think that if you're the prosecutor and you went to this extreme to get a conviction against former President Trump, why wouldn't you ask for the sentencing to take place? It's already been delayed once. So it could be that Alvin Bragg is feeling the heat as well. Maybe he doesn't want to be perceived as the one who's going to try to sway people to vote against former President Trump in the November 4 election.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's I'll talk about this other news out of New York. Former President Trump voluntarily attending a hearing Friday. His attorneys wanting to overturn the verdict in the E. Jean Carroll case. Let's listen.
It's an appeal of a ridiculous verdict of a woman I have never met. I don't know. I have no idea who she is. She wrote a book and she made a ridiculous story up. She put it in her book, and we're now appealing the decision.
Is this case is strange. I think a lot of reporters don't even like covering this case because of some of the nuances here. No witnesses, no surveillance video. Is this a mere he said, she said, which was repeatedly mentioned by Mr. Trump's attorneys?
Yeah, Adrian, I handle quite a few sexual assault cases.
It's not sexual assault, though. It's sexual abuse, which I read about was the distinction. So, again, another strange twist in this.
Well, let's clarify your comment even further. The original allegation was rape, if you recall.
Correct. Yeah.
And rape was not proved at the trial. It was like you said, sexual abuse, which is tantamount to like a sexual battery, touching a woman in an offensive way for sexual gratification. But look, I think the bigger issue here is why is former President Trump attending this hearing when he didn't even attend the trial? And if we get back to the other topic with the delayed sentencing on the hush money case, Adrian, if Trump gets elected in November, he could arguably pardon himself from the hush money trial, but he can't pardon himself from a $90 million civil judgment. Civil judgments are impervious to any kind of pardon. So I think former President Trump is showing up. He's late to the party, but I think he's doing that because he realizes he doesn't have any other recourse. And the big question I have is, look, if to your point, Adrian, if this is a he said, she said, so why wasn't he there in the courtroom, and why wasn't he taking the stand and saying, I didn't do that? Because rest assured, if he did that, if he went and testified, then it would be highly unlikely that he's facing nearly a $90 million verdict now.
I don't know. Again, I think this is a weird story that a lot of people don't like to go into the details of. And he definitely denied it over and over again publicly, which was part of the reason why he got a larger settlement, or rather a settlement given to E. Jean Carroll, much more money for that defamation. Brian Claypool, again, thank you for making some sense of what can be very complicated. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Adrian.
All right.